never have this issue here, or haven't recently, but oh, we're live on Facebook. Look at that.
All right, cool.
Just a minute.
It says live though, Haley.
Yeah, no, it's there's like a little delay. Now you're good.
We're good. We're live. Absolutely amazing. We did it once again. We figured out which buttons to push after all these weeks of doing these Facebook Lives on Fridays. Today, folks, is going to be a really fantastic conversation. This half hour is going to absolutely fly by because we have got a really fantastic, energetic, high energy, really amazing guest today. Everybody welcome my friend Jose. I want to see some claps, some thumbs up and all that stuff on this Facebook page thing. Now, it's usually my job to wear the, I call them confidence shirts, Jose, right?
Okay.
I call them confidence shirts. Like my kids, as I'm leaving the house, they're like, where are you going? Where are you going? Like that. I go, I'm going to work. Where do you think I'm going? I'm going there. There's other people there. I'm like, yeah, there's other people there. They're like, have you lost your mind? I'm like, no way. This is my confidence shirt. Like, you've got to be confident. You've got to be sure about yourself, right? If you're bursting out of that thing, though, it looks like you're staying in pretty good shape.
I'm trying, man, doing my thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's up and down, I guess, but I've been pretty consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody. All right, so let's do this. Let's get into this. Let's tell everybody what this is all about. I'll tell you guys, so many of you probably know Jose and his backstory because he's been on here a couple times, but I'm not gonna tell it for him. I'm just gonna preempt it by saying Jose has got an absolutely fantastic backstory. And when I heard it, literally gave me chills down the spine. And this is a guy who's on a mission to share his story and impact people in a very powerful way. Just before we started this, he said to me, look, if I could give one person, just one person, a little nugget that helps make their day, their week, their month, their year, maybe their life a little bit better, that's it. Mission accomplished for the day. And that's the truth. This is a person with a really tremendous heart who's really just trying to have a fantastic impact on all the people around him, and he's doing it. So I won't tell you his story. I think I preempted. I'm going to let him tell his story. Jose, welcome once again, and just lay it on them. Tell them what got you to where you are now.
Thanks, Brian. And I just wanted to say thanks to everyone. Thanks to you and everyone who invited me. I appreciate the invite. Well, just my story, I guess my journey started when I was 16 years old. I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma at the time, and went through chemotherapy, radiation treatment. It was a really challenging time. I was in high school. I had like a girlfriend. We were starting to talk to each other, and then she got like really uncomfortable and weird with the whole, cancer and the hair falling out and all that. So it was a difficult time. Like that was something that, a challenge that I went through. But I think my transformation, started, my transformation journey, let's just say, kind of started then. But I started to learn some really powerful lessons, even back then, that led me to kind of like on this journey of continuing to learn about the human body and potential. And I can remember, I'll tell you a quick little story. I remember, because I'm just fascinated by human potential and the human body and our minds. And so I remember I might have told this story to some of our last talk, but
Jose's frozen, but he's going to be unfrozen any second.
One of the lessons I learned right away was that life, it always could be worse. And I think I froze, or you froze. I don't know. Okay, cool.
We're good now, though. We're good now.
Okay, cool. So I can remember seeing little kids. I remember there was a priest that would go and get the treatments at the same time that I would. And everybody was doing so much worse. And I remember just thinking like, man, it could be worse. It always could be worse. And it was a powerful lesson. I remember, and I've carried it with me since then. But then another really cool thing happened to me. And it was like, and I didn't understand what was really happening at the time. But now when I reflect back and all that I've learned about the power of the mind, but I remember getting for my first treatment, they were telling me I was going to get really sick, and they were telling my dad, and I was like 16 years old at the time. And, you know, they're planting all these seeds of like fear in my mind, and basically telling me when I get home, just to be prepared to get sick, you know? And so sure enough, I went home and I just kind of laid in the bed. And I remember I was just laying there and just kind of waiting to get sick. And sure enough, I got sick. And I ran to the bathroom, started throwing up. And I remember my father came in and he was like, you know, rubbing my back, trying to like, just, you know, comfort me, you know? And, but you know, the strange thing that happened to me though was, you know, I don't know. I think at the time I had read this story in the Bible about Job. I remember, and Job had everything but lost everything, and had it so bad, and lost his family, he got rid, and all these terrible things happened to him. For some reason, I remember thinking that whole lesson of it always could be worse. But then like a thought came into my head, and that when after I got sick, I was thinking, a thought came into my mind that said, you don't have to get sick anymore if you don't want.
Froze again, but it's going to unfreeze any second.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that for me, I had this thought that I don't have to be sick if I choose not to. And so I chose not to get sick anymore. And it was like this internal dialogue thing going on. And I was like, so I made a decision that I wasn't going to get sick anymore, and I didn't get sick anymore. So that was like a first like experience, like for me, of like, whoa, the mind is pretty, you know, I started to be, that's what kind of made me very interested and become more interested about the mind, and how, wow, it was just a thought, and I decided, I made a decision, and I didn't get sick anymore. In fact, I started getting like better. Like every week I was going, when I get my chemo, like I was seeing everybody, I was listening to their blood counts were getting worse and everything, and hearing all their statistics and seeing people physically get sicker. But I didn't get sick. I was actually getting stronger, which was amazing. So anyway, but you know, that was just the beginning of my transformation. And then, you know, I went through the chemo and radiation, cancer went into remission. And I kind of just went back to like, I didn't really, at the time, I didn't know much about nutrition and things like that. So it was just it wasn't like a total transformation really, as far as like lifestyle. It wasn't until the second cancer, when I was diagnosed for the second time with stage 3 thyroid cancer, and I had to get thyroid gland removed and 29 lymph glands because the cancer spread into my lymphatic system. And it wasn't until then when I realized, and how I realized was, I wound up going to, you know, I just didn't want to, I made a decision too. I was like, I don't want to just keep getting sick like every few years in my life. And so thankfully, my mother actually introduced me to a facility for 10 days. And it was that's where the real transformation really happened, because it was not only was it a physical transformation where they taught me how through proper nutrition and exercise, but it was very spiritual too at the time, and very educational. It was a lot of education. Like we sat through seminars where we learned about you know, the importance of a healthy colon. I remember that was a big thing. Like the colon was like, you got to keep your, you know, so they were really big on detoxifying. And then, yeah, I made like a commitment to just didn't want to have to keep going through sickness every few years. So I really had to change my whole lifestyle, change my nutrition. They put me on like a nutrition plan that wound up being so regimented actually that it was amazing, the transformation I went through in 10 days. But then it was also interesting to see the challenge after, to try to stick to this plan, which actually created its own stress, right? Which I'm sure people experience that just even, you know, with regular diets, you know. Yeah, so then I got fascinated about fitness and the human body. I started studying fitness. And yeah, again, for me, like it was like the transformation. I started doing a spiritual transformation too, which was like really raising my awareness, about just the self, like self-awareness and the importance of recognizing, patterns in my life. And I started reading books on entrepreneurism. And then at the time, I actually came up with an invention that was called the Portaflex. I created this portable exercise bench. And a friend of mine, I asked him to help me out with it. And he wound up telling me, well, first thing you got to do is read this book. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I just need help to get this thing to the market. I had no idea what I was doing. And anyway, it was Think and Grow Rich. I read the book Think and Grow Rich, and it kind of just opened my mind even more to like, there's a certain way of thinking that successful people have. And there's certain like mindset, character, and habits. I went on to actually just it just kind of unlocked my curiosity to learn even more, kept reading books on entrepreneurism, got really into fitness, got into competitive bodybuilding, started just really working out, got into competitive bodybuilding. Like 2007, I won the New York State Dutchess County Classic overall championship, which was really cool. And then I went on to become a personal trainer. And as a personal trainer, I wound up found myself training the majority of my clients with like a battle rope and a suspension trainer. At the time, it was TRX. And so that kind of inspired me to, I thought, man, it would be awesome to, I always wanted to create something like, like a cool fitness product that everyone could use. Because I realized as a trainer, there's only so many people I could help at one time. But if I could create a system, a product or a system, I would be able to, that other trainers could use to help people, that I could have far more greater impact. And that inspired me to create Battle Rope ST. I started, because I was using these two tools and I was using them from all levels of fitness, from like 16 all the way up to 72. I had clients within that whole range. And it was just so adaptive, those two modalities. And that inspired me to create Battle Rope ST. And then
which now we're using in all the Mac centers. So it's pretty awesome. And so your vision is being achieved, right? And I know you've partnered with so many more gyms and so many more trainers throughout the world. Also, people are using it personally in their homes. And that's there. I know that there's a big push for that right now with everything that's going on. And that's really exciting too. Look, going back all the way to that first decision you made to just not be sick.
Okay.
Right? So is it that easy, or is it like, okay, I made this decision and then I got a good day, I got a good day, I got a good day, maybe another good day, and then a not such a good day. And that day, your mindset isn't 100%. And is it a struggle like that? Or are there these people on earth that it's like just good day after good day after good day and their mindset's 100% all the time?
No, it's not. One thing I learned was, at that time, that was just like this experience that kind of planted the seed for me of like, wow, the mind, right? But of course, I mean, I actually wound up just going back to, I was 16 at the time. I wound up going back to just living a regular old lifestyle, partying like a regular teenager, going to college and all that, living a toxic lifestyle. And so as far as like what I think you're talking about is like the mind is like an instrument. You have to keep like you have to keep tuning it, and especially in the and understand part of it is you are going to have bad moments, bad days, or whatever. But when the more we can tune our minds to success, right, and condition our minds for success through reading, through listening to the right things, through awareness also, the more we can shift, right? Because a lot of it has to do with focus. A lot of our feelings have to do with focus. What are we focused on? So it's learning to practice, like practicing optimism, really, and then there's a lot of different, there's a lot of different things. We talked about this last time too, right? Then like what's more important is like verbalization, like what we speak.
I know I talk about that all the time now. You gave me a
Yeah,
great nugget. Like, so
it's
Jose's advice was don't say stupid shit, basically.
out loud, right? And because the thing is, the reality is, our internal thoughts and dialogue is going to be all over the place a lot of times. Some days we're going to be like, oh man, I feel great. Some days you're worrying, you're stressed, you got things going on all inside of you. Oh, you know, you're feeling like a failure, whatever, you know, whatever you're struggling with. And what's more important is that you don't verbalize it. We don't verbalize negativity, you know, because just if people weren't on, whoever wasn't on this call last time, you know, the statistics basically say that when we verbalize something, it's 10 times more likely to happen.
You
And
know,
then when we,
I got a story. Like, that's great advice. I mean, firstly, I remembered that from the last time, and I literally, like, I went home and I shared that with my son. I made sure that he watched that video because I thought that advice was just absolutely incredible. And shortly after that, I saw a short video by Simon Sinek. You familiar with Simon?
yes,
And it
yep,
was so awesome because, you know, it kind of gave the opposite side of the coin. He said he was walking down the street. He was about to walk across the crosswalk, and there was an older woman who was struggling like with a wagon, and he smiled at the woman, and then he took the wagon and he helped the woman across the street with the the
the
her
wagon.
wagon. And she turned and she looked at him, right? And she said, thank you. And it just made him feel so wonderful inside. And he smiled at her and she smiled back. And he realized like it produced an actual chemical response in his body that made him feel better. So when she felt good that he helped her, it made her feel good. But then the amazing thing happened at the next corner. Because when they got to the next corner, a complete stranger that just witnessed this turned to Simon and said, I saw what you did. Big smile on her face. I saw what you did. And I just want to say that was really nice. And Simon's point was scientific evidence shows that when you do something nice from somebody else, and they smile at you, it puts you in a positive mood. It puts them in a positive mood. But all people watching that positivity are also thrust into a more positive state of mind. So I think the reason why I brought it up with your don't say stupid shit statement is I think the opposite is true too, right? Like, so if Simon Sinek's philosophy, and he says it's scientifically proven, is correct that positivity could uplift people and make them feel better, then certainly saying it out loud not only is going to bring yourself down, but it's probably having a ripple effect on all the people around you. And then it just compounds, right? They send negativity to you and it's back and forth. And maybe it creates like a downward spiral, whereas the opposite creates an upward spiral. Kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a saying that says that when you're helpful, you become hopeful.
I love
When you're
that.
helpful, you become hopeful. Like, so the idea is when you get your focus off of yourself and you focus on how you can help somebody, then you become hopeful.
That's amazing. For me, that's like a call to action, right? Because I could hear it. And in the moment, that makes me feel really good. Like, that's true, right? I'm in control.
Right? That's one of the human needs.
Yeah, if I'm helpful, I'm hopeful, but it's one of the human needs. You were frozen for a second. That's why I couldn't hear you. But
Oh,
yeah, I think it's a call to action to actually go out and intentfully do something each day to be helpful to somebody else. It's very powerful.
yeah. No, absolutely. And don't forget too, when you the other part of that, you know, when you speak something out loud, when you verbalize, it's 10 times more likely to happen. But then the data out of Harvard and Georgetown says that when you speak something negative, it's a 4 to 7x multiple. So if you say something out loud, it's 10 times more likely to happen. If you say something negative, then it's 40 to 70 times more likely to happen. You know, and
Crazy.
yeah, it is. So what I think is, you know, just to touch on that real quick is why I think that is so powerful is because, you know, people get hung up on trying to be, you know, positive thinking. They get hung up on like,
Jose is frozen. I think if I shake the computer, he'll unfreeze. Unfreeze. Hopefully he
positive
unfreezes.
thinking, like, you know, are you? Are you there?
Yeah, you're unfrozen now. This is
Oh,
crazy. It's good. Keep going.
okay. So what I was saying was, I don't know how much you heard me, was that it's more important. Don't get so hung up on having negative thoughts in your head. It's important to try to focus on positivity, but what's more practical and is like, just don't verbalize. Don't verbalize the things that you don't want in your life. Don't complain about, your job. If you say, I don't want to be here, or I can't stand this, job or whatever, then it's not, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do anything about it, but what you're doing is you're compounding just the negative feeling. Hello?
We're back. We're back. You know what? But to add on to what you said, and I think it's funny, right? We just keep freezing. I think we should make it like the people on Facebook should guess whether it's real or not, right? Like
Yeah. There you go.
they just don't know. And we can
You're
just sit
good
there.
at that.
And yeah, hopefully somebody stays on for the whole half hour. They don't get too frustrated, because I know this is, fantastic stuff. Like, to that point, one of the highlights of my week is meeting with people like Jose every Friday, and I get energized. I might come in and not be in the best of moods. I'm not in the best mood 24/7, but something about being around other like-minded people and talking in terms of positivity and a positive future, in spite of everything going on, it lifts you up. It makes you feel good. Your energy just shifts and changes, just like that. At least it does for me. I'd imagine Jose experiences something, similar as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we're talking about, like, has to do with focus. It really does. Like, what are we focusing our attention on? Um, and and then, and understanding too, what are you feeding yourself, right? Like, they if you're so many statistics around watching the news. Our society and our culture and the media, it's like we're being fed and bombarded with negativity constantly, and fear and all the things that we don't want. So you have to be cognitive of that, and understand, if you watch the news, the chances of you having a shitty day like increase
Right.
dramatically. Like, there's all kinds
Dramatically.
of statistics around it.
There's a new weapon that they have that they're using as well, and that's the headline. Well, it's not very new, but they're using it in social media so well, right? So they know what headline is going to get you to, they call it clickbait, right? So it's
Yeah.
the bait that's going to get you to click, that's going to get you to read the article and suck you in, right? But the clickbait in itself, if you just read that headline, it's all doom and gloom, because they know that people are more likely to respond to fear and negativity than they are to some happy story, some positive thing that's going on in the world. And it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous, because it
Yes.
puts you in a negative state and a downward spiral, and it could affect a lot that's going on in our lives without us even knowing it, unless we're aware that it's going on. And like you said before, we feed ourselves the right information. I want to tell something real quick that relates to your first story. I had a back injury decades ago, and it wasn't nearly as serious as the cancer that you overcame. But what I did notice is, whenever I'd go to the physical therapist's office, there'd be people in the waiting room, and they'd say things to you like, almost like you were in prison, like, what are you in for? And how long have you been? Oh, I got that.
Yeah.
They'd be like, I got this for 6 years. It doesn't go away that easily. And eventually I said to myself, I'm driving myself nuts. I'm coming here 4 times a week, and I'm coming here to get better, but I'm surrounded by people who are basically telling me this is never going to go away, and it's miserable and it hurts so much. And I stopped going, and I think putting myself in a positive environment and just exercising on my own and taking control of my surroundings and surrounding myself with only those people, the doctors, the therapists, that were like positive, like, this is going to get better. Look, I could touch my toes. I had a back injury too. Like, you will get better from this. I think it's so important in life to surround ourselves with positive, energetic people that lift our spirits and make us feel good and hopeful for the future.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like a lot of this kind of ties into like all the things that I started learning through these personal development entrepreneur books, and even my background as a behavioral change specialist with NASM is it's all, a lot of it has to do with also is having clear intention too, like intention for your life. I think intention, focus, and self-awareness are like three of the biggest kind of keys to how all people really achieve become high achievers. Having a clear intention, and then focus, having clear focus, and focusing on your intention, and then removing things from your life that are unsupportive, that to your focus. And then self-awareness is a big part of, I think the more we can practice and understand self-awareness, and how to identify patterns in our thinking that are either supportive or unsupportive, the more that's one of the most powerful practices I think a person can put into their lives. And then we're going to talk about potential too. One of the things that stories are you froze? Am I froze?
No.
Oh, okay. But I've listened to and I've heard so many stories, and I'm sure you have, of just people that have healed themselves just through the power of the mind, and also, of course, lifestyle change. And the potential that we have inside of us is really, it's fascinating. Like going through my cancer, it was really, it showed me, like, if you give the body what it needs, it has this amazing ability to heal itself, right? And uh, all right, sorry, but I don't know how much this you're getting of it, but
Yeah. Well, just follow it up with your cancer. You're saying the power of the body to heal itself when you give it what it needs.
exactly, yeah, and that kind of ties into the exercise that I wanted to do with everybody about potential, right? Like tapping into our potential, because a lot of times, because of how we grew up, depending on how we grew up, and because of just our culture, we identify ourselves in a very limiting way. And so there's an exercise that I've learned, and some of your viewers maybe have seen it before, but I thought it'd be kind of cool. Like the first time I did it, it just made me realize, wow, it made me think, like, what other areas of my life am I kind of identifying myself in a limiting way? And not actually trying to achieve maybe a greater level of myself, right? And just saying, oh, this is as far as I could go. One of my favorite quotes is from Les Brown. He said that the reason why most people fail in life is not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's Les Brown. I can't take credit for that. I could, if I say it 3 more times, I could take credit for it. They say. But anyway, Bryan, want to do this
Yeah,
exercise?
let's do it. Let's try
Yeah,
it.
like I think people at home. So here's how it works. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna stand up, all right, and you're gonna take your right hand and your pointer finger, your index finger, you're gonna point out straight in front of you, just like this. All right. Make sure you have enough room behind you because you're gonna rotate around. Okay. So now what you're gonna do is, I want you to, before I rotate, I'll explain it. I'm gonna rotate around towards my right as far as I can go, and I'm gonna point to a spot on the wall and remember that spot. All right, and remember that spot, and then we're gonna come back to it, okay? So right now we're gonna rotate around, all right? And try to find a spot on the wall as a marker, and then bring yourself back around, okay? So we'll do this standing, all right? We'll do it standing. So now what we're gonna do is, what I want you to do is, we're gonna take a couple seconds here, and we're going to close our eyes. And now I want you to imagine yourself, your hand raising up again, just like we did in your mind. See yourself raising your hand up and rotating around again in your mind to that spot. And now try in your mind, imagine yourself passing that spot just by an inch. Now, in your mind, still imagining, come back around, put your hand back down, and now still imagining with your eyes closed in your mind, raise your hand back up, rotate back around to that spot, and now try to imagine yourself passing that spot by 2 inches. Again, we're going to do this one more time in our mind. We're imagining, we're going to rotate back around. We're going to lift our hand up, pointer finger rotating all the way to our right as far as we think, and we're going to try to pass that spot by 5 inches this time. Okay, so come back around, still imagining. Now, open our eyes, okay? No longer are we imagining. Now we're actually going to do it. Now we're going to raise our hand up, right? Pointer finger, we're going to rotate around, and we're going to try to pass that spot. Boom, and come back around. There you go. So, I think
That's awesome.
we able to pass it.
Yeah, by like a foot.
What I'm saying, right? So it's pretty.
Yeah.
So the point is, imagine now, try to use this example and apply it to other areas of your life, right? Like, where else are you possibly, have identified yourself in a limiting way and thinking that this is as far as I can go, or this is as the greatest version I could be in this, for this area of my life, whatever it is, And so how much time do we have left, Bryan? We're coming to the end right here.
Yeah. Couple minutes.
Okay, cool. Because, what I'd like to tie in with that too is, the thing is, like what we just did, it was an example, and hopefully we could try to apply that to other areas of our life. And another practice that you could tie in with that too is what you could do is that a good practice is like to imagine yourself. Try to imagine this. Try to imagine yourself 10 years into the future. All right, Bryan or Klein or whoever it is. Imagine yourself 10 years into the future, and imagine yourself just reflecting back on yourself of who you are today, right? And you're imagining, you're seeing yourself of who you are today, but you're 10 years into the future. What would be the questions you would ask yourself when you're looking back on who you are today? What would be the question that you would ask that would, if there was something in your life that if you stopped doing, like you're looking at yourself, you go, man, if you just stopped doing that one thing, or maybe those things, whatever they are, you would have been so much more of a greater version of yourself. You would have made so much more progress if you just stopped doing that thing. So the question we ask ourselves, what we want to try to practice is doing this regularly. Try to just reflect back, like, what would be the thing that if you stopped doing, not if you started doing, that if you stopped doing would make you a better student or teacher? What is something if you stopped doing would improve your relationships with the ones that you love? Well, what is the one thing that if you stopped doing would make you a better business owner or a better employee, right? What is the one thing if you stop doing, or what are the things that if you stop doing would improve your health or your quality of life and your fitness, right? So we all know the answer, and so the point is to try to practice that and because it's not so much all the times like what we do, but it's a lot of times is what we should stop doing. The
Wow.
one thing that's stopping it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, Vince Carter, he was in an interview with Trevor Moawad. They were talking, and Trevor Moawad, he works with college athletes. I talked a little bit about him last time, and 3 of his athletes got arrested the night before. And Vince asked him, he said, Trevor, let me ask you something. How many of those athletes want to make it to the NBA or become professionals? What would you say the percentage are? And he says, oh, probably 9 out of 10 of them. And he said, isn't that something that they think they could do whatever they want and still make it to the pros? And Trevor said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, Vince said, what do you think? Now, Vince Carter, for those of you who don't know, he plays 20 years in the NBA, and he was 40 years old at the time, playing still in the NBA when he was having this conversation. He said, Trevor, do you think that I could do whatever I want and still be able to play, you know, for 20 years in the NBA? He goes, you know, I could still, I used to dunk the basketball on every fast break, you know, but he goes, I could dunk the ball now, but I had to stop doing that because it would put so much wear and tear on my knees. I couldn't get back on defense. He goes, I can't eat junk food before games like these young kids did or whatever. You know, he goes, I have to lift weights every day in order to maintain this level of fit. You know, so he goes, there's a certain set of practices that you can and can't do if you're going to achieve greatness, you know, and if you're going to become a greater version of yourself, let's just say. So the question ties right into that. What are some, it's not so much what people who become great, what they do, it's what they stop doing, what they know that they can't do that's going to limit them from becoming a greater version of themselves.
That
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And I think that's a great question to end with. I'm going to take that advice. I do a daily journal practice, and I'm going to not only, you know, list my goals and my dreams, but I'm also going to start to reflect on what am I going to stop doing? What can't I do? What is stopping me from moving forward? And that's an absolute great exercise. Look back on yourself 10 years and what would you be telling yourself? That
If
is
you just stopped doing that, you would have done so much better.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much, Jose. Folks, any of you guys, folks that are interested in learning more about the Battle Rope ST, you could Google it, but you could also go to our product page at the Max Challenge, because I think we have a link to the Battle Rope ST right on there. So for those of you guys that love the Battle Rope ST and love what Jose is all about, check it out, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks again, Jose. All right, folks, take it to the max.
Yes.
Goodbye.
See you, Bryan.